Enjoy the flick.
No, 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 no.
Wait, we don't want to get taken down for copyright. Oh my god.
Oh noes.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tomb of the Terrible. I am your humble servant, UncleNecRo, and with me tonight are Del. We have Friday and Chaos over there. Pyle has joined us this week, and as always, our favorite, Ron. How's everybody doing?
Ron.
Disturbed.
I'm in this weird mind frame. I'm getting ready for Terrificon, and like people are canceling and starting, and panel orders are changing, and everything's going around. And I'm trying to get all of my questions ready for all of the people that I'm interviewing, and so I'm kind of going insane. And so actually watching this movie last night gave me a breather from being like, okay, what do I ask Stuart Sager about that isn't going to be something he's been asked 300,000 times before? And yeah, that's how I'm doing.
You fell asleep, didn't you?
No, I made it all the way through the whole thing.
I mean, you fell asleep.
I did good.
Okay. Wow. Oh, very good. Well, wouldn't blame you if you would, but because I hope you made a big pot of Deadly Grounds coffee, because tonight we watched the 2015 movie Robert, or Robert the Doll, depending on where you're watching it from. Written and directed by Andrew Jones and starring Susie Francis Garton, Lee Bain, Flynn Allen, Judith Haley, and Megan Lockhurst in her very first movie role. After Paul and Jenny part company with their sinister housekeeper Agatha, disgruntled former employee gives a vintage doll called Robert to their son Gene. Soon after Agatha's departure, strange events begin plaguing the household. Furniture is vandalized, objects are thrown around, and maniacal giggles echo through the house in the middle of the night, but nobody believes Gene when he claims Robert is to blame for the disturbances. Paul and Jenny consider the possibility that a supernatural force has taken over their home, but as the occurrences escalate, they discover that it's not the house that's haunted, it's the doll. Dun, dun, dun.
Hold on. I wasn't there.
Okay.
I lost it.
Oh. Okay.
Can't even hear it. So we forgot to mention that there was also this guy in the movie. guy in the
You
mirror.
didn't even
That,
know it was-
there was also a guy hidden behind the staircase, but nobody got a shot of him. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think
So,
it says something that we're nitpicking on. So, sorry.
Yeah,
Gonna be quiet.
we'll get into that. But initial question: was this your first time watching this movie? How many people? This is mine. No. So everybody but Friday and Chaos. When did you guys first see it?
When it first came out, we had bought it on DVD,
Really?
realized we didn't like it, and gave it away.
I don't even think we made it 45 minutes into the movie the first time before we said the hell with it and gave it away. This is the first time making it to
And now
the end,
here you are.
but not the first time watching it.
Okay. Yeah. So, what was your everybody's initial thoughts here, starting with Dell?
Okay. As we know, my unaware of himself being my secret boyfriend, Brad, voices Chucky. So I have a little bit of experience in watching doll movies. However, as this was no Child's Play, but it was also no Mandy the Doll. This one didn't suck nearly as much as a lot of things that we have been put through recently. I was able to sit here and watch this, and I wasn't just like, oh, for fuck's sake, when is this going to be over? I wasn't thrilled with it, but I enjoyed it much more than a lot of things that we have seen recently. We're just doing the initial thing, so that's my, yeah.
Okay. So, Friday, what was your initial thoughts the first time that you guys were? I understand you already said that you didn't make it 45 minutes the first time, but what were your thoughts?
Paranormal chick flick that went wrong.
Okay. And Chaos?
They tried. They tried.
It's hard to put into words just how much this movie made my head hurt. It did not go well.
But here we are attempting to do so.
Yes, we are.
No. So,
I gotta take down
Pyle,
the owl, man. Having
what was
that for your
your
face
initial
is killing.
thoughts?
It'd be a great.
I'm sorry. Are we talking to me or him? Me?
Pyle.
I didn't.
Poke him in the
Yeah,
head.
I lost something somewhere. Anyway, honestly, it's not as bad as what I thought I was getting into because recently the toilet paper ran out on us. But this is actually one that Raven kind of looked at it and said, I could watch this. And then she goes, I don't like this one. Can we watch The Poop Monster? I said, not right now. So, I mean, it's not as bad as Mandy. Yeah. Too bad Raven's not here right now. She loves that
That
guy.
was for Raven.
Yeah.
But anyway,
All right.
it wasn't as bad as, and it seemed like it had a motor.
All right. Ron?
For those of you who tuned in last week, you'll know by the spin of the wheel, this was not the original movie that we were supposed to be watching. The original movie was called Evidence of a Haunting, but due to not all of us being able to find a version of that movie online, we ended up doing a respin of the wheel, and we came up with Robert the Doll. My initial reaction to this movie was, I really wish that we could have done Evidence of a Haunting. It was a far more interesting movie than this one ever will be. Dell may not have really thought, oh, for fuck's sake, when will this be over? But I sure as hell did. This has got to be one of the slowest movies we have watched on this show up to this point. Now, I'm not going to say that it was overly bad, because in the greater scheme of things, compared to some of the other movies that we have watched, it was not. It was an okay movie. It was just horrendously slow.
I'll agree with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's as far as I'm concerned, I agree greatly with that assessment, because the phrase that was running through my head while watching this over and over was, come on, movie, do something.
Exactly.
Anything. I know I didn't pay money to watch this, but I want my money back.
They should pay me for having sat and watched it.
Kept
Life
thinking,
is a lemon and apple.
had it not been, had it not been for the fact that 2 movies were already made based on the Goosebumps series of books, I would have easily mistaken this as an episode of Goosebumps, somehow padded out to 1 hour and 34 minutes.
If it was Goosebumps, it would have been better.
And also, I want to point out, I also want to point out that I initially mistook Judith Haley, who plays Agatha, for Lynn Shay. At a certain point, she looked like Lynn Shay, but she's not British, so it wasn't. So, that thought in mind, we move on to the next question of the segment. What did you like about this movie? Probably the shortest segment ever. Del, we're going to start with you.
Okay. I realize now how badly I am lagging, so forgive me, folks, if I'm accidentally cutting people off. I'm doing my best, but I realize, like, I'll say something and then, like, 5 seconds later, somebody's like, oh, you were interrupting. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm that far behind. Okay. No, this movie, what did I like about it? I wouldn't say that there was much that I really did like about it. I loved the house. The house was gorgeous. The Priory, and that's where it suckered me in, really, is that I love old, cool houses. And the way that they filmed it, with the perspective from either the kid or the doll, you got to see all these interesting angles and nooks and crannies. They had these great staircases and lots of ornamental woodwork. And so you got to see, like, little angles about them, and all the little bits and pieces of the house was gorgeous. The little kid, his acting wasn't terrible. He had that kind of just annoyed little kid thing going on, you know. The parents' acting, that wasn't the best. Agatha was okay. I liked Agatha. She was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. I do want to show, since we're talking, just for filler here for a second, this is the actual Robert the doll, and it suffers from Annabelle syndrome, in that if you've seen the original Annabelle, she's a Raggedy Ann doll. And this is what we get. Here's a screenshot to show the outfit closer. He's wearing kind of a pirate's outfit. Or not
Which to
pirate,
me is
sail.
entirely way more creepy than the original Robert the Doll.
Yeah. This is the Robert, but this is the actual doll. So I don't know. I guess they did. I mean, this is a terrifying looking fucking doll.
Well,
You know,
that
they
one,
like
that Robert there looks like the ventriloquist dummy that they used in the movie Dead Silence.
or magic, and yeah. So they did. Whoever came up with the props, they did a good job on making. What the fuck is that? Like, why would you want to have that around you? I do think Brahms was a much creepier doll, even though he was a lot nicer looking of a doll, I guess. So I'm referring to the boy, the doll from that. But I think they came up with a pretty creepy looking doll as far as things went. And they had a couple of scenes that I don't know if they were directly stolen from Child's Play, but the footprint thing was done and it was done okay, you know. So it that that we'll get into things that we didn't like so much later, but there were things that I enjoyed about this movie, like the house and the filming. So that's me for now.
Okay. Okay. All right. Friday, what did you like about this movie?
I love the house. I loved how they tried to have a good hit at the mental discourse angle of what could be wrong with their mind and what could be happening. They just pulled it off wrong. I love that they tried to do a Robert the Doll movie, but other than that, yeah.
And that should about cover it for you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Chaos, what did you like about this movie?
I'll agree with Dale that the house was nice, and the credits showing that it was over.
Yeah. That was pretty nice too.
Yeah.
Credits get
So,
5 stars.
Yes.
It's yay. But Pyle, what did you like about this movie?
So I feel like somebody's going to throw a plastic baseball bat at me and say it's wood, but I like I like the storyline in a way. I like it just because it's the person that's getting fired that's like, oh, you know what? I got this doll here. He's been in my whole briefcase this entire time. No one's seen it. No one's this and that. I've been with you for 2 years, but I'm cleaning out everything and I'm leaving the doll with the boy, which, you know, okay. Now, I see your finger go up.
The doll she actually had at her house, and she brought it when she said she was taking her things and gave it to him. The doll hasn't been in the house. It's been in her house. She brought it just to deliver to him as her, oh, you're fucking me over?
I didn't catch that because she said, oh, yeah, I have all my things. By the way, can I see him? I really thought she had a room there and she was staying there and she had this here for 2 years. And prior to that, someone else had the same dilemma. So it was like, well, okay, but it's not been done in that way in something else that I've seen. So I like the storyline that it was a original thought process, even though that you're right that she might have brought it, but it's still one of those original thought processes through there. I don't see this. I mean, yeah, it's a knockoff of a Chucky, but it's totally different in a different aspect, even from the Annabelles. So I do like that they had a different storyline on this. and I like the twist at the end, which, that was a nice thing, but other than that, I mean, I really can't say that there's too many things I'm going to absolutely grab and like. It was those two things, or that thing right there, that the storyline seemed like it was a original thought process versus so many things that they could have ripped it off of.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? I kind of had to switch mics here.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Just had to double check. So this will cut down on the lag on my end a bit. Again, like I said before we started filming this show, I'm using a different setup right now and working out the kinks. Ron, what did you like about this movie?
Believe it or not, I do have an answer to this question, because there is one thing that I did like about this movie, and it was the story development between the husband and the wife, Paul and Jen. He's a lawyer, or as they would say in Britain, a solicitor, and she has some kind of mental or medical disability, which makes it hard for her to function, like anxiety, or stress-induced anxiety. This entire movie revolves around their relationship and introducing one element that sets off her stress-induced anxiety. They did a lot with developing that story. The problem is that they only developed that story. They didn't develop the plot around it. It's fairly simplistic and straightforward. It doesn't really require a lot of development, but that was it. So this reminds me, or makes me think of converting a book to a movie. And some people will choose to do a pure transition, the exact story in the book, to the movie, rather than adapt it from the book into its own story within the movie. I watched the The Haunting of Hill House, Vincent Price, or what's it called?
House on Haunted Hill.
House on
Haunted Hill,
Hill.
which is based on a book. The story that's developed in the book is great. You have little tidbits of that story within the movie, but they don't go greatly into detail on it because they choose to stick with the horror aspect of it. This movie kind of went the opposite. They developed more on the relationship between the husband and wife rather than anything else. So I like the fact that they tried to develop the story. It just didn't really go anywhere. And that actually leads me to the one thing, or one of the things that I didn't like about the movie, which I'm sure we'll get into next.
Sure. Well, as far as I'm concerned, what I did like about the movie was the cinematography was decent. I mean, it didn't look cheaply shot. They were using angles and some points of view that actually looked pretty good as far as keeping the story going. I did get a few unintentional laughs out of it, especially when she actually comes out and says, "I didn't realize a doll could be haunted," near the end, which I was holding myself in laughter. And believe it or not, I feel that it did stick the landing with the final 2 weeks later twisty ending, as predictable as it was. But that was pretty much. And the ending credits. That was spectacular. That my suffering was over. So, with that thought in mind, we're going to move on to the most funnest question of the show, and that would be, what didn't you like about the movie? And Del, whenever you're ready.
Okay. So the basic setup, it shows the initial couple with the like, something's going on here, and they're like, oh, what's happening? Oh, there's something terrible about this house. Oh, yes, there is a presence, but it's not in the house. It is the doll. Dun, dun, dun. And then she takes home the doll, and then she gets hired on. She becomes unable to work again, and then she just like, the only person she likes in the household is the kid, Agatha. This is, and the reason I was saying that is you see her like doing this like ritual thing with the doll at her house, and then when she goes back, when Jen goes back to try to find any clues, it's when she's like meets her neighbor, and so he's like, oh, I've been living next door to her for a couple decades, so that's where I was like, okay, so she was definitely not living with them. But she gives this haunted fucking doll to the kid, who is the only person she likes, so that it'll destroy the whole family and do stuff. And they made it all happen really, really fast. Like, oh, this is a doll. He's my friend. He talks to me. And he's talking to me. And the doll immediately is just like on, like, I'm going to fuck with everybody. And they did focus on the mother's mental health constantly. Like, I get that they were trying to let us know that she had problems. And it was like, have you taken your medication? Oh, you're always just checking. You're just thinking it's like, I'm hearing something. You didn't support me in doing this. And like, she just harps on it over and over and over. It's like, we get it. And if you would make it like something that was mentioned once or twice, and then we moved on, and had some other plot development going on other than doll kills this person, doll kills this person, doll kills this person, all off screen mostly. Then there would be something to it that we could get a progression going on with it. But she just like, instead of a gradual thing, this kid who's old enough is just like, oh yeah, he talks to me, he says bad things, he'll get mad, don't do this, bye daddy, goodbye. It was just like, okay. It took like 3 days for this kid to become completely entranced with this doll and be okay with it just killing his family and shit. He's just like, yeah, that's cool, okay. But yeah, so that's, I think it could have been a better movie if they just would have had more time lapse going on and built a bit, like Ron was saying, they focused on that relationship between the husband and wife, and they left out pretty much everything going on with the kid and Robert. And they had things like she was an artist, and it goes like, there was a great scene that could have been, if they spent more time in her art studio. It shows a couple of her paintings and they're really good. And then he goes in after she's like freaking out about the doll, and all of the paintings have been changed. Like, well, not all of them, but a lot of them have been changed to focusing in on looking like she's having a huge mental breakdown through her artwork that he somehow missed the day before. And so I think they should have slowed it down, spent more time doing that build, spent more time in her art studio showing the painting, so it would be something where it was like, if you always see like a little kid drawing something and they draw the black stuff with red glowing eyes and shit. That's basically the equivalent of what they did there with her paintings, but we haven't spent enough time around them for them to realize like, oh, this would be a huge progression. That, and Robert is one hell of a fucking talented artist to be able to copy her style that well and to do that good of a job making images like that. I don't know when he had time for the paint to dry, but yeah. And there was also this other scene where she's cleaning off red paintbrushes towards the very end, And she suddenly just stands and she's looking at her hands covered in paint in the mirror. And that would have been great if there had been some development there where, because she's like suddenly like, it's like she's wondering for a second, maybe, is this blood or is this paint or is this what's going on? But we didn't get enough time behind it for that scene to give the punch that it could have had. So those are my problems with it, is they just, as it was mentioned, didn't spend enough time on the movie. It was just a lot of weird dragging things where there was so much more that could have been done. So that's what you get from me and the squirrel. Lag.
Yeah. Well, yeah, lots and lots of lag over here, people. But yeah, I do agree with a lot of that. That raises a lot of questions as far as what they could
I
have
don't
done.
think that different
versus
mic is helping.
Friday, what? Yeah. Friday, what didn't you like about the movie?
I agree with everything Dell has said. And yes, there is better ways they could have put the time in. Hi, Dirty! To develop the mental health thing. Because there are many better movies with the mental health thing being played on and how they portrayed it instead of just vocabulary. Put it in the monologue. This is one of those things where a conversation with Raz and I were having show don't say. There's so many ways to show, and I hope the next 4 movies do better at showing than telling and less harping. And they could have used some of the original story to make this story better than just the doll, the point of the babysitter housekeeper giving it to them and the doll driving people crazy. That would be my thing.
Yeah, Josh.
Well, some of my biggest issues of it, for one, this more or less confused me more than it was an issue, but the fact that it seemed like everybody in the movie was supposedly, it was a British movie essentially, but Robert's in Florida. Robert's from Florida.
Hence why I called it a fan fiction.
And then, as I said, it wasn't a terrible thing. It just kind of confused me a little bit.
Based on a
But
true story, not
Fan fiction.
yeah. Then you got
yeah.
this is supposed to be a movie about a haunted doll, but family drama. Little reference to the doll here. Family drama. Little reference to the doll here. Family drama. Or reference to half-ass reference to the doll there.
We get it.
Yeah. It's just kind of
Yeah,
aggravating.
kind of a formula. So
It's like they didn't really know exactly what they wanted to do when they made this movie. They just wanted to make a movie with a haunted doll. Okay.
dear viewers, if you can see what's going on our side, it's almost like the hurricane happening on the East Coast is hitting everybody who has an internet connection. There is so much lag going on. Kind of a guessing game as to when I can go in, jump in, and interject without talking over people. It's kind of a fun game for us, sir. But we're going to scroll through this. We're almost done. But, Pyle, what did you not like about this movie?
See, that time you came in really clear. Let me start with just saying this movie's opening had a lot of words and wisdom and this and that. But the funniest thing was the general person that could read perfectly fine would be unable to read that in the time it was on the screen, probably about twice, maybe 2.5 times. And for some reason, I actually had to see if I accidentally hit the pause to see if because it just has this long message about like this. Then you get done and you're like, okay. I like that you could actually, and you guys might put this on the dislike, but I like that you can hit the skip 30 seconds and still not miss much because it was that long, that short. I'm just going to say that. But it was one of those movies that you could get up, go get popcorn, watch the popcorn for 2 minutes, come back, and you didn't miss much. So, in those 2 minutes that any other movie might be a crucial Easter egg that you missed. Not this movie. Don't worry. Because you could probably go about 5 minutes and go to the bathroom and still be totally okay and not miss it. So that's pretty much what I didn't like about was the beginning, and all through there had the whole entire thing of granny speed. And not the grandma that's on like a scooter. No, the grandma that had a scoot.
Do the granny shuffle.
Oh, dude. We were absolutely green tennis balling this all the way through.
I don't know. I've seen some of those grannies on those tennis move pretty quick.
Yeah.
Back to you.
I mean, I have a walker that doesn't have any tennis balls on it. And, I move pretty good, especially when I have to go use the potty. I mean, I'm fine with my own balls, thanks.
That's called the toilet bowl shuffle.
In any case, right. So, all right. So, Ron, what didn't you like about this movie?
To follow on with what Pyle just said, in the infamous words of Chainsaw from the movie Summer School with Mark Harmon, dude, we just got laughed by an old lady with a walker. What didn't I like about this movie? Do you want this list alphabetically, numerical, or by order of importance? First off, viewers, our disclaimer at the beginning of this episode or all of our episodes states that this is 18 plus for mature audiences, as it may contain strong language, graphic violence, nudity, sexual situations, etc., etc. This movie had none of that. It might as well have just been a G-rated Disney movie that they would now show on Disney Plus, because it had none of that. There was no graphic violence. There was no strong language. There was no nudity, much to my dismay. No sexual situations. Really, this movie didn't have anything that I would consider remotely horror, except for implied situations. And anything violent or graphic or horror that did happen was largely off screen and only talked about after the fact. Love the reference, Ron. Thank you. And for that reason, this movie was entirely predictable from start to finish, even to the end of the movie with, I guess, their little twist at the end. It was entirely predictable. And when that happens, when the movie is entirely predictable, it's just a snooze fest. And you're just like, dear God, when is this going to be over so I can get on with, shoving bamboo shoots under my toenails and do something more entertaining? One thing that really kind of honked my hooter, after the ladies let go, Agatha, I think her name was, and she left the doll with the kid. And then Jen goes out to investigate by meeting the previous family that hired Agatha. We find out Agatha died. Why? Is this like within a couple of weeks? And she dies within a couple of weeks. What was up with that? I would not have expected that, because she could have been a great plot point to bring back around and explain, yes, the doll is haunted. I've had possession of the doll for years. You guys screwed me over, so now reap what you sow. And why is she such a vindictive bitch to begin with? I mean, it's a housemaid job. She's been with them for 2 years. I mean, are those permanent positions? Just move on with your life and get another fucking job. I mean, come on. There's got to be other families in England that need nannies and housekeepers. I mean, what are you, Alice from the Brady Bunch? Jesus. So I don't know. That kind of irked me a little bit, and there was really not a whole hell of a lot about this movie that gave it any kind of redeeming quality. To me, the Robert from the movie Rubber about the killer tire was a much more interesting character, and he didn't have any dialogue either. This
Fair.
movie was a complete waste of my time, and
Yeah.
I'm so sad that we don't have a toilet roll to mark down a proper score for it.
All right. Well, that was enlightening. And, well, I have to say that a lot of what I didn't like about this movie was the slow pacing, the buffering. It seemed that they could have just cut out and make a tighter movie, maybe an episode of some kind of TV show, make it kind of like that. But for some reason, despite the flaws, made 4 more sequels after this, none of which I'm probably ever going to watch. So at this point, 4. Yeah. But at this point, we are going to take a quick break to pay some bills. So we're going to, when we come back, we're going to get ratings and recommendations and all that. So let's go ahead and roll the thing. We'll be right back.
Greetings and shabebans. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Reductopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh.
And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Reductopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
Hello and welcome back. Hey, quick question for everyone this time. You ever experience severe lag issues on your computer? Is this the way that you want to go through life? If the answer is no, one of the solutions to this is to buy our anthology, the ebook, which is available anywhere you find books are sold, and everything that's fighting illiteracy. So you'll be a hero as well as well-read. So just something to really think about here. Now, ratings and recommendations. Tonight there are 3 parts to it. And we'll give the rating and would you recommend this? But also we're going to answer the question, how does this compare to Mandy the Haunted? So,
Okay. I am going to go back to 2 things that I remembered before I give my rating real quick. Because we were just talking about how it could be G-rated, but after the housekeeper gets knocked down the stairs, the new housekeeper, there's like, she lands at the bottom, she's like, and then Jen gets home and there's like a little trickle of blood here, a little trickle of blood here, a little bit of it here, and some bruising, done on with some makeup for her. And she's just like, oh, Paul, all the blood. And there's like, no, not really. Your hands had more paint on them than this whole woman did. You didn't even have to clean the floor. You know,
Out damn
like,
spot.
yeah. And then there was another thing where you're mentioning, you know, like, just like in Rubber, Robert had no lines, but he kind of did when she's listening at the door. And there's like little kid voice and then deep demonic old man, hard voice that was supposed to be Robert. And I mean, like, it's obvious this kid could not be making up this voice. But in the history of it, even when they go, it was like Robert was given to a child that died, and that's what possessed him. So it's like, man, that child could have joined a circus, because damn, did he have, he was like hardcore heavy metal sort of, you know, voice and stuff. But
He was a chronic
just wanted to
smoker.
bring that up. It's like this 7-year-old who you had me check out Ginger the other night, and I was just like, no, one of my friends had me watch Ginger the other night, and it was like that kind of a transition. It was just like, what the fuck? So as far as ratings go, I didn't hate this as much as so many other things. So we're going to go with, I'm kind of jumping between a 5 and a 6. And so I think I'm going to stick with, I'm going to give it the 6 for the house. And for the fact that Pyle and I at least got to see a couple of people hidden, and those are always fun. And I know that that shouldn't be something that you give people credit for, is the mistakes in the movies. But it kind of was like that. Was it a mistake, or were we supposed to think something was there? Or no, it's probably a mistake, but you know, they left it in. So I'll give it a 6, and I would recommend this to a couple of people, not very many, but a couple of people that I know who are into horror movies, but they don't want to get too scared, if that makes sense. Like, there's not a lot of violence and stuff in this one, so it's probably not going to give them nightmares, but it will give them a bit of spookiness. And the doll is scary enough that it will disturb some of them. So that's my go.
Okay, and how does it compare to Mandy the Haunted Doll?
It is much better than Mandy the Haunted Doll. Then again, most things are. So I mean, I have my Robert and Mandy sitting in a tree thing, but honestly, yeah, Robert was better. He's not the best haunted doll, but he's better than Mandy.
Okay. So Friday,
I have shared it in the
if
other
you
to the group.
recommend it, and is this how does this rate against Mandy the Haunted Doll?
I have shared it in the other 4 to the group. I have literally given this away 4, and they rate about the same to me. And oh yeah,
Fair enough.
please check out the Tomb of the
Josh?
Terrible group.
Same question.
Yeah. I rate it probably about a 3. I would not recommend it to anybody. And I'm actually on the fence of whether or not to say I'd rather be forced to choke down Mandy again than watch this ever again. Ever.
Right.
That's so positive.
I got you. Okay. Oh. Pyle,
So, the toilet paper is still dealing with personal problems. So, Monty the Mothman is here this evening. We both gave it 4 out of 10 wing flaps because it's better than Mandy. It is better than Mandy. I'm just gonna say that, but I don't know why he grabbed the baseball bat. That was not a baseball bat. It was a plastic one, and he gave so much brain damage to the father. And you're right. Why? There was so much blood. No, not really. Would I recommend this? Probably not. And when I say that, hell, Ivy didn't even recommend this. She said nope and walked away. That's pretty bad when the daughter says, "See ya." And she likes shit shows. Let me just tell you that. But yeah, that's what I got.
How does it stack up against Mandy the Haunted Doll?
Oh, see, Robert actually, you could see Robert doing things a lot more. He did a lot better. I want to tell you, Mandy, she was just a statue dancing around. Robert actually moved, and you could see him actually moving the baseball bat. I don't know if I could see his hand, but it was right there versus Mandy that just danced around. Robert actually moved and he looked through the peek hole too. That was so much better than Mandy. So Mandy, sorry, you're still flushed, and Robert, I give you probably a little more than what I should on the good job.
Yeah. Ron, what would you rate this? And would you recommend it? And what does it compare to Mandy the Haunted Doll?
I was sitting here while everybody else was giving their dissertations, trying to think about how I would rate this in comparison to Mandy, whether or not I thought it was a better movie or a worse movie. If I remember correctly, I believe I gave Mandy a 1 because that movie has more plot holes than my underwear. I mean, I've seen Swiss cheese with less holes than Mandy has plot holes. If you've got tryptophobia or a fear of holes, don't watch Mandy because then it really will freak you out. Robert, on the other hand, there's not so many plot holes because they did try to develop a solid storyline. The problem is that they didn't develop anything else. So, on a scale balancing, Mandy has its issues, Robert has its issues, but I'm actually going to say that Mandy would probably edge this one out over Robert because it's a movie that I love to hate and hate to love. And Robert is just one of those movies that you could use as a sedative in a senior home to put your elderly people to sleep, and maybe as a kind of euthanasia, if you are assisted suicide, I don't know, just have them watch this movie, and it is possible they might just fall asleep and you wouldn't have to worry about them anymore. And I know that sounds cold and callous, but that's essentially this movie. It's a very strong sedative. And for that reason, if you are suffering from insomnia, then yeah, sure, go ahead, watch this movie. I'm pretty sure it will cure it. But other than that, I don't see any reason why you should waste an hour and a half of your life on this movie, and I would not recommend it. And if you have a choice between the two, I would go with Mandy, just because at least there's blood and gore and violence, and they don't have that in Robert. So for that reason, I have to say that Mandy takes the edge on it.
Okay. So it leaves me. I give it a rating of 4. And would I recommend this?
I think that's
No.
highly
Go
gratuitous.
see Annabelle instead. And as boring as it was, I would say that Robert shot better than Mandy, so there's that. So with that said, let's go ahead and attempt to spin the wheel and find out what we're going to be watching for next week.
First off, I'm going to say hi to Stefan, but I'm not going to pull up your comment because that's why.
Yeah.
Ah,
I'm morbidly
okay.
curious.
Look in the comments. Okay. Let's spin this here picker wheel. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Well, each one of them has 33% chance of winning. Cannibal the Musical. Nope. It switched. Bad CGI
Bad
shark.
CGI sharks.
Bad CGI sharks.
Is that legitimately a movie?
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
it is.
That's one I have not watched yet, so that'll be a new one for me.
Probably a very bad version of Sharknado, if I had to guess.
No, this one has like the shark. It's like a video game hologram where it's like chasing people through the forest and stuff. And it's like a see-through. I've seen previews. I haven't seen the movie, but I was just like, oh, that's odd. Just a second.
So.
Oh, there's also a bad CGI gator that came out.
Be a treat then.
Later.
Hopefully.
You can watch this on Tubi.
Sweet.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So, where can we find you guys? Del?
You can find me here on the Owlite Network. You can go to Carrie, Kari Sanders on Facebook. Look me up, and all of my links are there. Most Tuesdays, you can find me on Splash Pages with the gents over there on the Dorkening. This Tuesday, we are taking off because we are getting ready to go to Terrificon. I will be in Connecticut basically Thursday through really early Monday morning. I fly out at like 6 o'clock in the morning. You can also find me. I'm going to shamelessly plug this real quick. If you'd like to go over to the Kickstarter, Fractured Mind Presents More Lore from the Mythos, we have it running right now. And I happen to be in there. And we got the Kickstarter going. We're mid-goal. Now we're working on pushing through it. So if you could hop over there, we would love to have you following us. Get a copy of the new book. We got some great artwork and stuff in there. And yeah, I'm all over the place right now. My head is just like the squirrel is in a better position than I am to keep track of life.
Jenny is here at Owlite Network. I'm at Paycor. I'm at Friday with Library in the New Box. And you can find me on Jennifer Elliott, the author page.
All right. And Josh, where can we find you?
Find her. And here.
Oh, I like how he simplifies that. Just
Yes.
find her.
And Pyle, where can we find you?
You can find me here on the Allied Network. You can find me on Facebook. I have not done much on that wonderful TikTok lately. You could possibly find me on vacation this weekend.
Rock on.
All right. That sounds like Ron, where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook under my author page, Ronald W Gillespie Jr. -author. Go buy my book. Thank you very much. Also get the Outlight Menagerie. I do have a short story in that one as well. You can also find me on TikTok under @Wolf Dojo. That's Wolf with a U, WULF. I am a martial artist by trade, and I make martial arts content for TikTok. If that's the kind of thing that you're into, check it out. Otherwise, find Friday over there somewhere, and she can get in touch with me if you can't find me any other way. And other than that, I'll be lining up at your mom's house for pancakes for breakfast in the morning.
Bring the show.
Oh,
Pancake.
And I'm as always, your humble servant, UncleNecRo. You can find me here and various other things I might be writing, I might be posting. I might be outside. Who knows? So, until next time, stay new to your friends and seek
I seek lots of help.